So if we're trying to critically evaluate the effectiveness of marketing, I find that the majority of people are struggling in one of these areas. There may be more, but this is the most common ones that we encounter. They're either not collecting any data on their campaigns at all. They may be collecting data, but they're collecting the wrong data. They're collecting data, but they're not looking at it. Or they're looking at it, but they don't know how to interpret it.
This is the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners looking for cool online tools, apps and strategies to make business easy online. My name is Nick Cree and I'm your host. Each episode features a guest expert demystifying the online universe, sharing inspirational ideas and providing tested real-world strategies to help you get the most of what's available online to grow your business today. Don't be a slave to your business, get your business working for you. Subscribe now and get some great content and ideas for you and your business today.
All right, well, this is the point in the evening where I go silent, which is good because I had the flu last week. Those of you that are on last week will remember me coughing. I've managed to suppress most of that this week, so I'm on top of my game again. But this is the time in the evening that I get to hand over to one of our resident experts. So that is Stuart Brown. He lives in Mudgee Bar, and he's sort of not quite underwater at the moment, but he's got a very wet area there as well. So Stuart runs a company called Launch Experts. He's a website designer and coder. I think he's got a background in design as well too. But his area of specialty, in fact, is digital marketing. And he's done some pretty cool things like worked with Google, actually at Google. And he's got a testimonial from one of the people that worked at Google there, said that when he was speaking on stage with them, that this person at Google learned some things about Google from Stuart, who wasn't even an employee there. So he really does know his stuff, and he's very general coming along tonight to share some of that. So welcome, Stuart. Let's give him a big Business Owner Smashing It Online welcome.
Thanks so much for the silent applause.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Let me just quickly share that. Let me know if you can see that. Just give me a thumbs up or something.
Looking good.
Cool. Okay. So, yeah, thanks very much, everyone, for showing up and giving your attention. And I'm going to make it as interesting as possible, what can often be a really dry subject. As Nick was saying, the company that I co-founded is called Launch Experts. We're a certified Google partner. The majority of people who come to us come and see us because they want to rank higher in search engines. They want to achieve something in search engines. We end up building a lot of websites, and we do also do a fair bit of stuff around social media and automation and video marketing and whatnot. But search engines and websites are our bread and butter. They're kind of two sides of the same coin. Some of the companies that we work with are sort of big and small. I see some big names there, you see some small names there. What they all generally have in common is that they're primarily service-based businesses. So it's pretty rare for us to do stuff with e-commerce. So the majority of our clients, they just want the phone to ring with people to book in for their service, or book them for a job if they're a plumber or something like that. So that's the commonality between our clients. This is my family. This is my why. My wife Rhiannon, she's the other co-founder, and she works with me in the business as well. We don't have kids yet, so these are our two babies, Simba and Bear, and they get treated like babies. And as Nick was saying, Rhiannon and I both had a pretty extensive history. Rhiannon spent time working for Yellow Pages and Telstra. I spent some time working with some pretty big digital agencies, and as Nick was saying, I was lucky enough to get invited to tour around speaking on stage with guys from Google head office, teaching people about digital marketing and whatnot. And he was nice enough to give me that testimonial, which was really great. So for tonight, this is all about how to effectively optimize marketing and create predictable growth, or protect your business from rough conditions. And we've all seen a bit of that in the last 12 months. And this is what really sort of inspired me to talk about this. Growth is great, but growth is good when times are good. Sometimes when times are bad, we just want to make sure that, the ship stays steady and we don't kind of go under. So let's talk about the problem firstly. From my vantage point, the problem that I see most small, medium businesses have is that they only really have one, maybe two methods of getting business. A lot of businesses rely really heavily on word of mouth and referrals. Not to say there's anything wrong with word of mouth and referrals. You know, I'm a member of a BNI chapter, and so that's built around word of mouth and referrals, and it's awesome. But the issue with that is that word of mouth and referrals aren't predictable. You know, it's very difficult to predictably grow a business based purely off of that, because you never know when you're going to have the next referral come through. And what if something happens that causes the referrals to stop for whatever reason? It could be any number of things. You know, obviously COVID-19 caused a lot of things to go haywire. You know, something might happen with your competitors, something might shift in the market, and it just stops word of mouth or whatever that pipeline that you normally rely on to get all your work, for some reason, just stops working. So it's a risk. It's a massive, massive risk for a business to only have one method of getting referrals. And the way I like to explain this is with this image here. If we had these 5 chairs, which one of these chairs would you feel the safest to sit on? Well, probably not the chair number 1, probably not chair number 2. Chair number 3 is looking better, 4's pretty safe, and 5's probably unnecessarily safe. But the reality is that most small businesses are running their business as though they're sitting, their business is effectively sitting on the chair with one leg on it. And the way that I think the way that I think about these people is sort of like this illustration here. We've got the business owner. He's probably been in business for a long time. Businesses, you know, it's high quality. There's nothing wrong with his business. They provide a great product or a great service, good word of mouth, and that's why they rely on that. And they're always busy traditionally, so there's no real need to invest in marketing. And they'll say things like, I don't ever pay for marketing because I get all my business from word of mouth, or it doesn't make sense to spend money on marketing because I'm too busy as it is. So why would I spend money on marketing when I'm at capacity? I would just be wasting those jobs or those leads when they come in. And it totally makes sense in theory, as long as you can ensure that the conditions never change and that you'll always be busy and nothing will ever stop that pipeline of work coming. And so this is what kind of happened during COVID-19. We have a lot of businesses that had one source or one method of generating work or generating leads. We had COVID-19, or, you know, it doesn't have to be COVID-19, it could be any disruptive event, and there's plenty of them throughout the last decade or through longer periods of history. You know, Y2K made everyone get real nervous. The GFC, Ebola virus, Zika virus, whatever the next virus is going to be, any given war that's going on in parts of the world, other competitors, changes in Google's algorithm. We've had clients that have come to us where they're freaking out because they're about to lose their business because they get all of their work from people they've just always ranked number one for whatever keyword, and then suddenly they don't rank number one anymore because Google changed something. Just like the Core Web Vitals, that's going to create upheaval and it's going to upset things for people. And those people that have got more than one method of getting business will fare better than those people who just purely rely on their ability to get traffic through their organic rankings. Does this make sense? Give me a thumbs up if you're sort of understanding what I'm saying so far. Peter doesn't think it makes sense. What, do you have a question, Peter? Do I need to clarify something?
I know it doesn't make sense. And the reason it doesn't make sense is whilst 88% of businesses are micros, and those people, I agree with you, yes, but anything bigger than that changes. Even a micro, when they want to become a micro plus, what they're doing is they're then going to network marketing, they're doing flyer, they're changing their sales mindset. And then when you go to the larger companies, that changes again and again and again. So you're only talking about micro businesses, and not small. micro. So long as you're talking about that, then what you're saying is perfect.
For sure, yeah. So, and we can come back to that at the end. Absolutely, yeah. So medium to large, definitely not in that bucket. So this is definitely, so primarily we deal with small micro businesses. So absolutely, I 100% agree with you. Yeah, those bigger guys, they're well established.
That's just my thing. That's what I did my PhD on. So that's why I'm
100%. So to clarify things, to make it a little bit more accurate, what we're referring to, let's say, regardless of the size of business, if a business has one source of getting work or one source of generating leads, this is the issue that I'm addressing. So yeah, let's forget about the size of the business. Yeah, 100% with you, Peter.
Yeah, good, thanks.
So Warren Buffett, pretty smart guy, says never depend on a single income, make investments to create a second source. This is the chair that I imagine Warren's chair probably has 1,000 legs on it. He's going to be fine no matter how big the earthquake is. He's all good. But this is the concept that I'm trying to get across. So create predictable growth and minimize risk. What I'm going to take you through here is, we're not going to be spending too much time in like an ad campaign dashboard or talking about SEO tricks or anything like this. We're going to spend the majority of the time actually looking at a spreadsheet simulation. And this is what I mean when I say it can kind of be a bit dry, but it'll make sense as I kind of walk you through it. I'm going to try to simplify it as much as I can and explain how we go through our process with our clients when we're trying to develop their sort of marketing safety net, if you will. So if we want to create predictable growth and minimize risks, we really need, we really need three key things. We need to create multiple marketing campaigns. We need to critically evaluate their effectiveness. And finally, we need to make data-driven decisions to achieve goals. And I left that broad because not everyone's interested in growth. Some people want stability. Some people are trying to do all different things. So that's why I said achieve goals. If you're trying to grow, that's all good. If you're not, that's okay too. Now, the thing that from my experience, the people that we deal with, the thing where most people fail is step number 2. It's very easy to create multiple marketing campaigns. Anyone can create a Google campaign, can create a Facebook campaign. If we have the right information at the end, we can make the decisions to move the business forward or figure out how to take the next step on our growth trajectory. I'll use growth because most people that I talk to are trying to grow. Most people struggle to critically evaluate the effectiveness of the marketing campaigns that they're running. And I'm going to walk you through how we kind of approach that. So if we're trying to critically evaluate the effectiveness of marketing, I find that the majority of people are struggling in one of these areas. There may be more, but this is the most common ones that we encounter. They're either not collecting any data on their campaigns at all. They may be collecting data, but they're collecting the wrong data. They're collecting data, but they're not looking at it. Or they're looking at it, but they don't know how to interpret it. And we're going to come back to that in a second, but what I want to walk you through is, a lot of people that are new to marketing or they've tried digital marketing and because for our business, we don't deal with anything but digital marketing. We don't do any, you couldn't pay us to organize a radio campaign or a billboard for you. To be honest, I wouldn't even know where to start, but we just wouldn't do that kind of work. So all of our clients are trying to do digital marketing. And from our point of view, this is how we compare the kind of key features with, billboard, radio, sort of analog type marketing on the left and digital marketing on the right. I'm using Google, Facebook because most people are familiar with those. So if we talk about, say, a billboard versus a paid campaign on Google, are the billboard campaigns easy to track? They can be tracked. Is it easy? I would say no. Are they charged per use? Generally, if you go and you want to book a billboard space or a TV ad or something like that, they'll bill you a flat fee, and it'll typically be based around how many people are driving past it on the M1 per month. Whether they look at the billboard or act on it is kind of irrelevant to the salesperson. It's going to be 50 grand whether you get a result from it or not. Flexible budget, you're paying that $50,000 for that billboard, regardless if there are less people that month or if there are more people the next month, it doesn't matter. And analytics, obviously there's no kind of analytics when you're doing those kind of analog marketing, but you get basically all of those controls when you're doing digital marketing. So on the surface of it, it seems like a real no-brainer to go down the digital marketing path versus the traditional path. However, a lot of people will gravitate towards analog marketing styles because it's familiar, for one, and it's in their mind, it's almost a safer option, and safer because a lot of people will make these two complaints. We tried digital marketing before, we set up our own campaigns, we got really little or no results, or we used an agency or some expert that we found online and we got ripped off. They are by far the most, I think every second day we're talking to somebody that's complaining that they got ripped off. I think 99% of our clients have been with at least 2 or 3 other agencies before they do business with us. So it's very, very common. So if you've had an experience like that, don't feel bad. There's nothing wrong with you. You're in a chorus line with a huge number of other business owners. So we've got these two sort of opposing things. We've got these on the surface checklist, digital marketing seems really awesome, and yet people are making the same complaints about digital marketing. So now let's get into a spreadsheet. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to slowly take you through an example spreadsheet that we use all the time. And I'm going to slowly expand on this so that you can see how this evolves and how it makes sense. Because if I just show you the whole thing, it's going to be a little bit overwhelming and may not make too much sense. So here I've got our billboard that we run, and it costs us 50 grand. Now, when I expand this out, we're going to introduce some additional columns here, which kind of don't make much sense for in the context of a billboard, but I'm going to explain them to you anyway, because they're going to become important in just a second. So average CPC is the cost per click. That's a metric that doesn't relate to billboards or analog stuff. The impressions, that's how many people see the marketing material. Again, probably doesn't really apply to billboards because, we get charged for the billboard, that flat fee, regardless of the number of impressions. The click-through rate is, again, going to be more relevant to digital ads. That relates to how many people are going to click through and actually come to our site. Obviously, clicks is not relevant to billboards. CVR stands for the conversion rate, meaning how many people actually convert into a lead, typically like a phone call or a form submission after they interact with our marketing, and the number of leads. So obviously we have no idea about any of that stuff, and some of it's just flat out not even relevant to billboards. Now, off the back of that, again, we have more stuff. So we have some fixed points in our business, which are a close rate. So on average, most people will know when if I had 10 people call me and they were interested to book my services, how often will they actually book in and do business with me? So for the sake of this example, we'll say that it's 50% of the time, 1 in 2 people. And we'll say the average value of what we sell is $500. Now, in the context of this example of the billboard, we don't have any idea of the number of sales that the billboard generates for our 50 grand. Therefore, we have no idea really about a concrete idea on the revenue, and we have no idea about the ROI. And this is the reason why most businesses that choose to do billboards do it for the purpose of branding, which, is kind of brand recognition is a completely different kettle of fish compared to lead generation. And to be honest, most small and micro businesses couldn't care less about branding. They just want the phone to ring. So let me now add some other lines to this so we can do a bit of a direct comparison. So the first thing I'm going to add is an example set of results from a Google Ads campaign. So let's say in 1 month, we ran our billboard, and then in the same month, we ran a Google Ads campaign. We spent $1,500 on the Google Ads, and we had an average cost per click, which was $5. we had 3,000 impressions, meaning 3,000 people physically saw the ad, and 10% of the people that saw the ad clicked on it, meaning we had 300 clicks. This is all just simple math so far. Of those 300 clicks that went through to our website, for example, we had a 15% conversion rate. So 15% of those 300 clickers actually called us, or they filled out our contact form and they converted into leads. So that gives us 45 leads. Like I said before, we have a 50% close rate. So that gives us, with an average sale value of $500, gives us 23 sales and revenue of $11,250 and an ROI of 7.5, meaning that for every dollar that we spent on the campaign, we got $7.50 back. And that's simply a calculation of how many times does this 1,500 divide into 11,250. Does this make sense? Can you nod your head if these fairly straightforward? Cool, good. This is the basis for how we kind of build up this model of figuring out what's working, what's not, and how we're going to predict the performance. It'll start to come clear as we add some more things. But what we're essentially doing here is building a framework for doing side-by-side comparisons of any marketing campaigns that we're doing. Now let's add Facebook ads into the mix. In that same month, we did a billboard, we did Google ads, and we ran Facebook ads. Facebook was slightly different. We spent $2,000 instead of $1,500. The cost per click was $3. The impressions was much higher. It's a display campaign, usually get a lot of impressions. So 13,000 odd impressions. Click-through rate was a little bit lower, 5%. So we had 667 clicks. Conversion rate, slightly different because it's different medium, people behave in different ways. So conversion rate was 10%, therefore we got 66 leads for the month. Close rate's the same, 50%. Average value is slightly different. You'll see this time, $525. For some reason, we find in the data that the people that click through on Facebook, they spend just a little bit more money. We don't know why, doesn't really matter for the purpose of this exercise. We just know that it occurs. So that gives us 33 sales, revenue 17,500, and an ROI of 8.8. Making sense so far? We can see the comparison. Good. Finally, I'm going to give you one more example. Let's say we ran LinkedIn ads. So it's a busy month. We're doing a lot of things here. LinkedIn is different again. We only spent $800. We're just going to dip the toe in, spend $800. Same cost per click, 7% click-through rate. Again, slightly different conversion rate, gives us 21 leads. Close rate is exactly the same. This time LinkedIn, the average value is way higher, $800. And for the purpose of this hypothetical, we'll say, oh, it's because people on LinkedIn are, I don't know, wealthier professionals and they just tend to spend more money. It doesn't really matter. So we have a much lower sale volume, only 11 sales, and a lower revenue, 8,500, but the ROI is 10.7. Now, if I was to just take it without getting everybody to unmute and causing chaos, hold your hand up and give me 1, 2, or 3. Which one of these campaigns would you continue with? 3? Yeah, I'm seeing some 3s. Yep. Someone's saying 2. Jane, unmute yourself and tell me why you said 2.
Sorry, hit the video. Because the LinkedIn is a very certain market.
Yep.
Whereas Facebook is very much more general and you're getting a much bigger audience.
Yep. Okay. I would say that for the purpose of this exercise, it kind of doesn't matter. The most important column here is the ROI column. A lot of people would get fixated around the volume of sales or the revenue, because obviously that's a really, 17,000, that's an exciting number. But ultimately, when we're trying to do comparisons, the ROI is in many ways the most important, because this tells us dollar for dollar, which one had the greatest impact? Which one's the strongest? Which one's the weakest? And the reason why it's the most important is because as a business owner, this number gives us the ability to make a decision. We can decide, okay, do we want to kill off Google Ads and divert that budget into Facebook or LinkedIn because those are performing more strongly? We get more money out when we put the money there. Or do we need to do some work? Maybe we don't want to kill off Google Ads, but we want to do some work on it to improve the performance, to try to make it do better. Either way, the purpose here is for us to understand how things stack up so that we can figure out what are we going to do with our marketing budget next month. Do we want to continue things? Do we want to increase the budget? Do we want to decrease the budget? Do we want to reallocate the budget? Do we want to stop things altogether? LinkedIn is looking pretty strong from a return on investment point of view. Do we want to massively expand? Do we want to double or triple that budget? Depending on what your goals are in the business is going to dictate what decisions that you make. But the key is that with these numbers, we can actually make those decisions and feel confident about it rather than just kind of guessing, which is what a lot of people end up doing. With the lack of data, a lot of people end up just doing stuff on gut feel, which generally ends up, you might get lucky and make a good decision. Most people will end up losing at some point. So this is why we generate these reports. This is a sample of an actual report from one of our clients. I've taken their logo off to, just so I'm not revealing their deepest, darkest secrets. And the reason why we could easily just give our clients, encourage our clients to look into Google Analytics or send them a PDF download out of a Google Analytics dashboard, which would be, for most people, it's completely overwhelming and bamboozling and really, you can just go down the rabbit hole and spend hours in there and learn nothing. So what we do is we put this dashboard together for them so they can see high level, really key metrics about how the campaigns are performing. So, and I'll walk you through it. This top section on the top left, the impressions, like I was saying, this is how many people physically saw the ad. The click-through rate, how many people actually clicked the ad onto the site. That means they got how many clicks here. The average cost per click, and these numbers under here are a comparison against performance from the previous month. So they can see month to month how things are tracking. Conversion rate, okay, of those 1,200 people that clicked, basically 1 in 10 people actually converted. They called or they filled out the contact form. That gave us this many conversions. It cost us roughly $49 to generate that conversion. And we know that the conversion value is about $1,800 in this example. So down here, to be honest with you, I think that most of our clients don't even look at any of this other stuff, and they pretty much just focus on this bottom section here, which is, okay, I spent $6,200. For every dollar I spent, I got 37 back. Okay, that's an increase of 336%. That sounds pretty cool. I had 230,000 roughly delivered into the business. This is how our clients essentially can at a glance go, okay, is this campaign going well? Is it going badly? How's it going compared to next month? Is this something I want to continue with? Do I want to increase the budget? What do I want to do here? They can make a decision. And this is why what you have, sorry, Peter, I see your hand going up. I'm going to blast. I don't want to go over time. So I'll come back to you at the end if that's cool with you, mate. So this is essentially when we started our business, we wanted to try and do this in a way that's quite different to what everyone else was doing. And so we made sure that we were going to try to operate without time-based contracts. So a lot of our competitors were sign people up into 6-month, 12-month contracts and things like that. The only way to make that possible for people was to make it really clear, hey, you're spending X amount of money. Sometimes it's a little bit of money. Sometimes it's a big sum of money. And we need to make it really simple to understand what is actually being delivered into the business. Are you growing? Are you creating stability? Is it helping you pay for staff, or what is it doing? Is it helping you get where you need to go? So our clients can really just see, okay, cool. At a high level, I understand what's happening in the campaign. But in the background, they're also using a spreadsheet that looks like this. So they can, when they're doing multiple campaigns, they can go, cool, I understand how this stacks up side by side, and I make sensible decisions based off of that. This is making sense so far? So, sorry, I've just messed up my slide show here. So does anyone want to take a guess? I don't know, just maybe stick it into the chat if that's easiest. Which one of these columns do you think is the most critical when it comes to calculating your ROI? Oh, I've lost the chat window. Nick says CTR, the click-through rate. Okay. I would suggest that for me, I would suggest that the most important column when we need to conversion rate, yeah, I like the CVR. I like CVR better than CTR. The conversion rate, definitely important. Yeah, I would say it's either the CVR column or the leads column. Really what we need to do in order to calculate an ROI effectively is we need to know how many leads we get, because you as a business owner, you probably already know what these other columns are. You already know what your close rate is, or if you don't, you could calculate it in about 5 minutes. You probably already know what your average sale value is worth. And once we know that, we can easily, all this other stuff just falls into place. So the leads for most people when they're running digital marketing, accurately getting measurements on the number of leads that a campaign generated is the missing link in all this stuff. And that's because what we need to achieve is attribution. And attribution is more or less, it's a 3-step process. We have traffic that comes through to, say, our website or our landing page. You know, that's the world that we operate in. Usually it's a website or a landing page that we're sending traffic to. They get a certain volume of those people are going to convert into leads. They're going to call you. They're going to fill out your online form. If you're e-commerce, you're an e-commerce business, they might buy one of your things that you sell. But then the most important step is this attribution step here. The system must be able to go back and tell, hey, Facebook, that traffic that you just sent to the landing page, that actually converted. You must be able to discriminate between and attribute which platform, which one of your channels actually delivered the traffic that resulted in the lead ultimately. That's where most people are failing with their digital marketing. And what happens when you don't have attribution, and see if this rings a bell for any of you guys, what ends up happening is that you end up spending a bunch of money on Google Ads. You start a campaign, you spend some money, you get some clicks, and you can see that, and then nothing happens. You don't really know if they called or did they email you, or maybe you did get some calls, but you don't really know if that came from the Google Ads campaign or did it come from Instagram or Facebook or, you know, a MailChimp campaign that you ran. You're sort of in the dark there. That's where this fails. And so without that attribution, you miss out on all this stuff. You don't have the leads, and then all this stuff is just kind of gone. You're effectively blind. Does this make sense? So as soon as we get the ability to attribute which channel the leads came from, all of this other stuff magically just falls into place. And I didn't actually think of this before. If any of you want access to this spreadsheet, I'm happy to send you the file. I don't know if I can, maybe Nick, you can tell me if I can attach that into the chat or something, but I can provide you with the original spreadsheet with the calculations and formulas that kind of does all this, and you can fill in the blanks and you can have a play. It's actually quite fun to play with when you plug all your own numbers in and see where things are at. So let's talk again about this idea of analog versus digital marketing. And what I'm going to do here, when I was talking about you can jump into this spreadsheet and have a play, most of our clients, once you start to get a handle on what your ROI is, this becomes at a certain point sort of just a simple calculation between how much money am I putting in and how much money am I getting out, or how much money do I want to pull out here. And so let's say this is our performance for month 1. And hey, I wonder if month 2, what happens if we messed around with LinkedIn ads and we change the budget here? The only thing that I'm changing is the amount that we spend. All of these numbers are the same. And obviously that creates a corresponding change in the revenue. Obviously the ROI calculation is exactly the same, because dollar for dollar in each equation here, we get $10.70 out for every dollar that we spent. That doesn't change. And this is what starts to change the conversation from, oh, is the campaign working? Am I making money? I'm not really sure if this is, I'm spending a lot of money. I feel like I might be wasting it. Pretty soon, once you have that understanding of that formula, the conversation starts to turn to, okay, how quickly can I increase my budget? Or do I have the capacity to service this volume of leads or sales? Because that may become the next bottleneck for the business. If it takes a certain amount of manpower to deal with inquiries and service these customers when they come on board, then the problem may not be the budget. The problem may actually be, oh, do I need to employ someone to grow this, to fuel this growth? Or do I need to use some kind of technology or automation or some other system that makes things more efficient, so that I get a little bit of extra headroom? I can physically handle more leads, which is going to enable me to grow. Does this make sense? And so some of you may be thinking, well, hang on a second. I already know how to attribute where the leads are coming from, because I ask everybody that calls me, how did you hear about us? This is by far the #1 thing that I hear from people when they talk to us. I go, it's all good. I already know what's working and what's not, because I ask everyone when they call me, and I have like a little chart next to my desk, and I mark it off every single time. Well, let me tell you about the reality of what is actually happening there, because what you think is happening when you ask that question and what's actually happening is very, very different. So let's say you are like 99% of people out there that asks people, how did you hear about us, when they call you? And you are also one of the people that's running, you're in this example, you're running 5 different campaigns on each of these platforms. But the person that taught this is on the phone to you. They go, yeah, I found you online. I Googled you. Cool. That's score 1 for Google. Well, okay. Does that mean that they found you on Google News? Did they find you on Google Ads? Did they find you on Google My Business? Did they click on a Google Shopping link? Because unfortunately, the majority of people, when it comes to Google, most people are totally unable to distinguish between ads and the organic listings. They don't know the difference between Google My Business, which is technically, from where I sit, Google My Business is really in the realms of organic SEO. So when they said, oh yeah, I found you on Google, are you scoring 1 for Google Ads or your SEO, or is it your Google My Business, or like which one does it go to? And so what ends up happening is that you have this disconnect between what you want to know. You want to know which one of my marketing activities directly caused you to contact me, because then I know where I want to be spending my money next month. That's the question you want to know, but there's a difference between that and what they're actually going to tell you. And here is what I've been able to figure out with a lot of studying on what people say. You don't know whether they're going to tell you the first time that they saw your business. Are they going to tell you the last time that they saw your business, immediately before they called? Are they going to tell you the most memorable time that they saw your business, which could be, I don't know, a funny post that you had on Facebook, or is it a YouTube video that they stumbled across? Or can they even remember how they found you? And oftentimes Google, oh yeah, I just Googled you, is just the default response, because they just can't be bothered. I've done it myself. I've just gone, man, I don't know. I just Googled you. Yeah. And people go, cool, no worries. And they're running off and making business decisions on that. And it was just like a throwaway line because I just could not remember, or I was just too tired to think. So this is the problem with asking, how did you hear about us? And I see Sumiko is smiling ear to ear. So I'm guessing you can understand what I'm talking about here, Sumiko. Great to see you again, by the way. So when we're talking about conversions, we want to get away from manual surveys and anecdotal evidence. So just stop doing keeping the score sheet next to your desk. I get why people do it. People do it because they don't have any other better way to track it. And let's actually use the technology, which is, to be honest with you, it's built into the ad platforms themselves, proper conversion tracking that allows us to track the actual actions that people take as a result of these campaigns. Now, when I say conversion tracking, what is a conversion actually? Typically, for most people, a conversion is when someone downloads a lead magnet, they might sign up to your email newsletter, a phone call for a service-based business, a form submission, or a contact form. If you're doing e-commerce, it would obviously be a sale of something on your e-commerce store. Broadly speaking, a conversion is any action which has value for your business. So if you can determine, and there are businesses that do this, if you can determine that there is a definitive value with somebody, when somebody watches your intro video that's on the homepage of your website, that can be tracked as a conversion. If they click on a particular button that has definite value, that can be tracked as a conversion. So whatever you choose to define as a conversion doesn't really matter. That's totally up to you. And, you can decide that, hopefully with some guidance of a marketing expert. But it doesn't really matter what the conversion is, as long as we're tracking the conversions that have value for your business. Once we're tracking that, we can know how are those conversions being generated, where are they coming from Facebook or Google My Business or wherever it is. We know the value of that, and then we ultimately get that ROI calculation at the end. Does this make sense? So I briefly want to touch on tracking phone calls, because this is where I find that most people or marketers fail. And in our line of work, most of our clients are primarily interested in phone calls. So most agencies, I find, don't track phone calls either because they don't know how, or they don't want to spend the money on the technology that's required to do it. It definitely is not cheap to track phone calls that come from marketing campaigns, but it's absolutely well worth it, because without it, you're relying on form submissions, or you start trying to force people to fill out a contact form because you don't have the ability to track the phone call. So what we do is we just make sure that for all of our campaigns that we run, we track not only that the phone call occurred, as you can see in this list up the top here, but we physically record the call as well. Now, why would we want to physically record the call? We want to record it because if somebody is spending, well, in that example that I showed you before, over $6,000 a month on their ads, we don't want to just go, well, yeah, we generated 100 phone calls. We want to know the quantity of phone calls that got generated and the quality of the phone calls that got generated. Because what you don't want to have is a scenario where you go, okay, well, yeah, we had 100 calls, but I think a bunch of them were from salespeople calling from overseas, or from scammers, or, were they even legitimate phone calls at all? I don't know. Being able to record the calls means that you can physically go back and listen to them all and understand, yes, we're not just getting leads, we're getting the type of leads that we want, because not all leads are created equal. There's no point getting 100 calls from window shopping tire kickers that aren't actually going to buy from you. We want to be able to listen back and go, hey, yes, people are booking in, and we can track that person through to that actual job and know that 100% made money. So it's end-to-end visibility on the whole process. Now, a fringe benefit of call tracking is that it allows you to also, if you have staff working for you, to kind of audit what people are doing on the phone. There is a client of ours who we are sending them about 300 odd phone calls per month from their campaigns, and they were actually their close rate, meaning the number of people that actually booked in for a job, was less than half of what it was supposed to be based on what we know about industry standard. Now, the campaign is performing beautifully. Everything's going great with the campaign. But when we listened back to the calls, we found that firstly, people are spending way too long on hold. They're spending minutes on hold before they can actually talk to someone about what they need. So people were just hanging up and getting sick and tired and leaving. And they needed to implement a script for when they answered the call. So there was a standardized process. And I forget the guy that said that he was a sales trainer, but I imagine this is the kind of thing that you maybe deal with. They needed a standardized process for their staff to use so that the experience when they're on the phone was consistent across the board. And as soon as they were able to deal with that, then their close rate started improving. The amount of money they spent on the campaign didn't change, but all of a sudden they're making bucket loads of extra cash just because people were actually booking in more frequently than they were previously. So I think we're pretty close to time. So to sum up, basically, these are the key points that I want you to take away. Develop multiple marketing campaigns so that you're sitting on a chair with more than one leg, or that your business has got more than one leg to the chair. We want to look and have visibility over the conversion data so that we can actually understand the results that are happening from the campaigns. Make decisions that are based on your business goals with the newly found visibility that you've achieved. And that's going to enable you to achieve predictability with the growth, because you can basically decide how much money you want to put in and understand how much you'll get out of it, or create a protected environment against disruptive events. So that's basically it. Thanks very much for your attention, guys. Thanks.
Awesome. Excellent. Thanks for that, Stuart. That's given me a whole lot of additional work to do now, hasn't it? All right. So we do have some time for a couple of minutes left for questions there. Has anyone got a question or looking for any clarification for anything that Stuart's talked about tonight? If you do, either drop it in chat or unmute yourself, and happy to take the question.
Yeah, I'd like to say something, if I may. I did put it in the chat. Essentially, it seemed to me that when you were, and I could be wrong, can you hear me? Is that all right? Yeah?
Yeah, that's good, Peter.
When you have 3 different platforms on which you're selling, you're just saying, my ad on Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, and so on. But saying it like that possibly indicates that it's the same ad that you're sending out, but these are 3 completely different platforms. And therefore, when you have a look at them, you say, okay, well, each platform should have a different ad, because the people looking at it are different people. You've got different markets. And therefore, instead of just having, as you said before, you're just having one market that you're selling to, which is what you said before was no good. You've got 3 completely separate markets. And what you can then do is you can say, okay, the ROI is different on these. That means each one needs to be tweaked in a different way to relate to that market. So to say which one of the markets is better is not the case. It's how can I develop that each market separately to increase them. The LinkedIn's doing 10%. Let's leave that for the moment. Let's go for the one that's just doing 7. Build that up, and then so you can develop the market all the time, and you're working on different markets, broader markets. So if one goes down, the other goes up. You're doing exactly what you said earlier you should be doing, which is fine.
For sure, mate. I 100% agree. And as I said, and that's why I wanted to clarify at the start, this is all, the purpose of this is based off of people's individual business goals. And that's going to be something different for everyone. So the end result for this is that whatever the decision that you want to make, you've got the ability to kind of confidently make it. And I 100% agree. You know, the goal for me looking at this is not, let's kill off everything except for LinkedIn because we made the most money out of LinkedIn. The goal is to have multiple fingers in the pie. So yes, let's just figure out, okay, I've got my numbers. What do I want to do this month? What am I going to focus on? You've got the visibility to confidently make those decisions. I totally agree with you.
So who's my avatar in Facebook? Who's my avatar in LinkedIn? They're different.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, excellent. Any other questions? Anyone else got a question, comment, or observation?
Yeah, I've got a question for Stuart. I don't know if you can see me.
Yep, go ahead.
I can, yep.
So you gave examples of what people's spend was on each advertising and the different platforms.
Mm.
I presume that that doesn't include your fee or your cost to do it for them. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Are you talking about doing this for people?
So in this example, well, I mean, look, these are just made up numbers in a spreadsheet. So how you choose to use that spreadsheet is completely up to you. So some people would choose to evaluate this purely on the ad spend alone. Some people would choose to put in, because obviously when we run it, there's a management fee on top of that. Some people would add that number on top, which is it's just going to change the number. It doesn't really change how the system works. It just means the ROI calculations are going to be a little bit different at the end. Yeah. So you absolutely could do that for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry, I would actually say that when you're doing your accounts, they go in different places, because Stuart's fee is a set fee, which makes it a cost of sale, whereas the advertising per click is a percentage of what you're selling, and therefore is a cost of sale. So they go in different places in your profit and loss. When you're doing it, so you don't actually say, is that part of the same thing? No, Stuart's is cost of marketing and advertising, and the LinkedIn stuff is a percentage of your sales.
I can tell you, Karen, definitely from experience, some of our clients do, though I agree with the layout of the profit and loss, how that's all calculated, as Peter said. Some of our clients absolutely do say, well, okay, you know what? Yeah, we spent $3,000, but your fee is this, so we're going to build that in so we can go, okay, this is your total cost. Some of our clients do play it that way. Yeah.
Excellent.
At the end of the day, there's one thing people are interested in, and that's what they're spending and what they're getting back, and the 100%. Difference between the two.
Yeah, 100%.
So
yeah.
It doesn't matter what.
And what you're making should be more than what you're spending. Bottom line. Excellent. All right. So we've got a question here from Peter as well. He's asking, where does, or what about organic search? Where does that play a part in here?
Okay. Peter, I don't know if you've got a microphone, but I'm assuming without additional clarification, you're wondering if it's possible to run the same calculation. Excuse me. Yes, it is, but it looks a little bit different because it's more challenging to get. Well, you can get it, but it's not super duper accurate. End up calculating a cost, which is basically, most people do it by what Karen was saying. They'll put our fee that we charge to run SEO campaigns, and we can track the leads in exactly the same way. We know we can attribute phone calls and Forbes submissions through to organic traffic. And so we can get the same result in terms of revenue, ROI, and all that sort of stuff. But you do miss out on some of the calculations. Like obviously there's no average cost per click. You don't generally get the impressions and click-through rate because it sort of works a little bit differently. But in terms of a cost, revenue, ROI calculation, yes, it's absolutely possible.
All right. And Sumiko says the results for each channel on ROI would be different for industries.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so they're going to be different based off of the platform. The ROI is going to be different based off of the platform that you're running on, the market that you're going after. There's going to be, this is only really surface level breakdowns. When you get really into this, there's going to be differences with, let's say if you're just running stuff on Facebook, you could break this down by age if you wanted to. You could say, okay, there's going to be a difference between video ads versus carousel ads. That stuff is all going to create a difference. So you can break this down into as fine a detail as you want to, and you're going to find differences there. So yeah, it's going to be, there's no one size fits all, or you should expect a 10 times ROI. You know, some of our clients get a 20, 30 times ROI, some get a 5 times ROI. It's going to be different for everybody on so many different factors.
Awesome. Excellent. All right. Well, that's probably about all we've got time for. Stuart, you know, if anyone wants to follow up with you, are you available for people to contact you in some way, shape or form?
Yeah, for sure. And Nick, I'll send you that master spreadsheet so that you can send it on to people if they need.
All right. We've got an email that goes out after the event tomorrow, which will have the link to to let you know that's up on YouTube. We can include that link for the spreadsheet there too. So that'd be great. Excellent. And we do have a door prize for tonight as well too. Do you want to tell us about that, Stuart?
Yeah, so since our bread and butter is really search engines and whatnot, so what I wanted to do was to offer one person will set up and fully optimize their Google My Business page for them to maximize sort of what it can achieve in search engine results. And I'm also happy if anybody else does not have a Google My Business page, I'm happy to help them with the setup of their Google My Business page as well. That's a really important thing. If any of you guys are trying to attract local customers in your local area, that is absolutely critical. And sadly, it's something that a lot of businesses don't have. So if anyone's deficient in that area, I'll set that up for you. But for one person in the room, yeah, I'll go through the full SEO optimization process on that.
And the great opportunity for those that don't have a Google My Business profile is if you do get it set up, and your competitors don't, then you've got an edge on all the rest of them. All right, we have a special way of drawing this today. As ever, we have our wheel of names. So everybody that's here, your name is in there. So we're going to spin the wheel, and whoever it lands on, you are the lucky winner tonight. But you have to be here, so if it does land on someone that's not here, then we redraw it. All right, drum roll please, and we'll spin the wheel. And it's coming through, and our winner tonight is Peter Stewart. Congratulations. I know we had a question there. Are you still here, Peter? Let's just have a look here. Yes, Peter's here as well, too. I'm not sure whether he's got a microphone or not tonight. All right, so Peter, do you want to drop your email into chat so that Stuart can grab that? And then you guys can connect up and sort out your Google My Business. So that's a great prize, and I know for Peter, that's awesome for his business as well. All right, well, look, I'd like to thank Stuart. That has been an absolutely awesome night tonight. There was a bucket load of information in there. You have made a dry topic quite interesting, particularly the way that you went through it, and we could see exactly how it could play out in our own businesses. So thank you for that. Thank you for your offer to share the spreadsheet as well. And hopefully those that do download that, you're able to fill it out and run through it. So it is a very valuable exercise. So thanks again, Stuart, for your time tonight.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
All right. So those that want to catch up on it again, I know there's a lot of information. It will be up on the Smash Go YouTube channel tomorrow. So I'll be up there sort of tomorrow afternoon, depending on sort of how quickly we can get it edited. So if you go to the YouTube channel, which is in chat now, go and subscribe to it, and as soon as it's uploaded, you'll get a notification to your email to let you know that the video is there. Tomorrow we have office hours. So office hours is at 10 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. So office hours is a no agenda, no speaker conversation with other like-minded business owners. So anyone is welcome to join. Bring a cup of coffee, cup of tea, glass of wine, beer, whatever you have at 10 o'clock in the morning. And come and join us. We do have some interesting conversations there. If you're looking for a recommendation or you're looking for help somewhere, this is definitely the place to come and have a chat. And because there's the number of people there who've got experience that will just sort of share their own experience as well too. And there's some good insights that come out of it. So that's 10 o'clock tomorrow morning Australian Eastern Standard Time. And the link is in chat. It is office hours. And finally, we do have next week. So next week's topic will be run by me. So it's the last, what do we call it? Last session for the month. And always the last session for the month, you get me. So next week, we are going to be talking about a practical way of really it's dealing with conversions again. So many of you will know about, say, lead magnets. That's a sort of topic that flows off people's tongues. So thinking, have you got a lead magnet? And often people put a lead magnet up onto their website thinking job's done. There's a whole lot of stuff to do after that. Like, what do you do once you've captured the email address? How do you market to them in a way that sort of builds a relationship and a conversation? And how do you sort of turn that into a sale at the end of the day? So that's what next week's topic is all about. And we'll have some practical examples, templates, and things you can take away as well too. So now that I've promised that, I've got a whole lot more work to do this week to make sure that I can deliver that for you next week. But it'll be good too. So that's it for tonight. Again, thank you for Stuart for giving up a part of his evening to join us tonight. Thank you for everyone to coming along. I hope you stay dry and safe tonight for those that are in the wet weather, and for those that are elsewhere as well. Also stay safe and look forward to seeing you either tomorrow or next week. So go and have a good evening.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast. You can also find me on social media and online. Just search for Business Owners Smashing It Online and Nick Cree, spelled Nikree, all one word. If you like this and want to hear more, subscribe now. Until next time, don't be a slave to your business. Get your business working for you.